Got the job offer? Congratulations. But now you have to figure out if you're going to accept it. But not to worry, in this video, I'm going to reveal how to decide whether or not you should accept the job offer or not. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and today I want to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is accepting the job offer. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how to break down an offer to determine whether or not you should accept it. But before we get too far into it, if you're interested in more career-related content just like this directly from a corporate recruiter, maybe hit that subscribe button. All right, so congratulations on landing that job offer. Now, as the dust is settling and all the excitement is winding down, you're sitting down and looking at the job offer and you're determining whether or not it's something that you should accept. And there might be some red flags, there might be some concerns that you might have. So in this video, I want to really break down some of the criteria I would look at if I'm making a decision on whether or not I want to accept it. The first thing I would ask myself is, does this job align with my long-term career goals? If I can't say with a certain degree of authority why I'm even interested in the job to begin with, then I really need to be thinking about what my priorities are. Because you got to keep in mind that every job that you take is either going to get you closer to your career goal or further away from it. So you have to be asking yourself, is this in line with what my long-term career goals are? Of course, if you don't know what your long-term career goal is, that's a whole other discussion and maybe one that you should do some soul searching on. And if you need help on that, you can reach me for private one-on-one coaching. But certainly that should be the number one criteria. Is this job going to help you get closer to your goal? And if you can definitively say yes, then it's obviously on to the next most important thing is, does it compensate fairly? Because I'm assuming that you did good salary research before you even entered into the interview process. So you should have a good understanding what your market value is. And it's important to note that there are various pay philosophies that companies adopt. I've covered that in another video. I will leave a link for it. But the gist is are they a market leader? In other words, are they paying above market value? Are they at market or do they lag the market? And some companies will actually make a purposeful decision to lag the market because they're okay with the turnover and the other things that come with it so that they can save a few bucks. And if they're a pay lagger, it's probably a good indicator that there's not much of a future beyond this particular role. So unless you need a paycheck coming in, you might want to think long and hard about it. How you can tell if they're pay laggers, look at the local market. Do they consistently come in below market for their job offers? And if that's the case, it's probably a good indicator that they might be a low quality employer and not pushing the boundaries of compensation. And another little asterisk to put in this one, if you accept an offer from a company that's a pay lagger, don't expect huge raises going forward. So just keep that in mind. Now, of course, we want to make sure the pay makes sense, but we also want to make sure that the benefits make sense. Because you got to be really careful with this one. Not all companies' benefits are made equal. Some really lead the market with really strong benefits packages. In particular, look at the medical cost. We're going to look at copays and deductibles. And this is most important for those of you who are listening in the United States. Some other countries have the benefit of better medical coverage, but we know here in the US kind of stinks. But going beyond the medical benefits, we also want to look at the total compensation package, things like 401k and 401k match. Do they have a decent matching program? What's the vesting on those as well? Take a close look at how many years you got to work there in order to fully vest. And keep in mind that companies don't have a lot of loyalty these days. So a long vesting period is going to be worth less to you than a short vesting period. Same thing goes for equity and bonuses. Make sure you fully understand what the terms and the conditions are for that. Then you got to look at their paid time off programs. I have my own opinion on unlimited PTO. I've made a video about it if you're interested in my perspective. But I would say if you do accept a job that has unlimited PTO, make sure that you carve out some guarantee for the amount of time that's expected for each person, because probably won't work to your advantage in the end. So all these things are rolled into a total compensation package. So do your research to make sure that all the different components add up and make sense for you. Then I'll be looking at the conditions of the work. So in other words, what's the expected hours for this role? What's the commute look like? And I would be mapping it out, making sure that you take into account traffic conditions at the time you'll be commuting. I'm also going to be taking into account whether or not I've got any parking or commuter expenses. Of course, we have to take into consideration whether or not it's going to be a permanent remote first job, and if that's going to be subject to change, or if it's going to be a hybrid situation, or it's going to be fully on site. And hopefully you got all that stuff vetted out in your interview process. If not, I would circle back with the recruiter to really understand that. So as I wrap all this hard stuff up, I'm going to be asking myself, does it meet my expectations? In other words, Is it what I expected walking in the door? Is it consistent with what the company told me throughout the interviewing process? Was there any difficulty trying to get these terms and conditions in the offer itself? Because if a company's willing to work with you, it's a good indicator that it could be a good quality employer and that they really want you. But accepting an offer goes beyond just the terms and the conditions and the salary that you're going to get paid. There's other things that we want to assess as well, because we want to be joining a reputable company. And I would be paying close attention to any negative news or how they're perceived inside of their industry. There's certainly been a lot of news over the last 18 months to 2 years about companies behaving poorly, and I might think twice whether or not I want that company on my resume. So reputation certainly does matter, and in particular among their peers and how they're perceived by the customer base. And while we're at it, we might as well check how the company's long-term forecasts are. You certainly don't want to be joining a bank that might be folding up any day now, or joining a company only to get laid off a week later. And yes, that's a true story. So I'd be paying close attention to what their forecasts are. And while you're at it, you might want to see if they laid off any people recently, because I wouldn't want to join an organization where I'm going to be looking over my shoulder the entire time and waiting for the other shoe to drop. And once I've made sure that the company's prospects are good and they have a good reputation, I want to make sure that I resonate with my boss's leadership style. Because if you join an organization where everything else checks out, the money's great, the benefits are great, but you work for a really bad boss, I've talked plenty of times on my channel about toxic situations. Nothing causes employees to quit their jobs quicker than a bad boss. So make sure that you flushed out and resonate with the leadership style of the person you'll be directly reporting to. You might also want to check one layer up as well while you're at it. I would also look at the stability of the management team if there's been a new changeover recently, or they're anticipating bringing in new leaders above you, because you want to make sure that the person that's hiring you is still going to be there in the next 6 months. Because there's nothing worse than starting a new job, a new leadership team comes in and completely wipes out everything. And the final thing I'd be looking for as I'm determining whether or not to accept an offer is, do I have a reasonable chance of success in this role? Because if I'm feeling like I'm being set up to fail, or what they're asking for is just not realistic, in particular for the amount of hours that they're expecting or what they're compensating, then it's going to be an indicator that I'm probably not going to last very long. If you follow my channel on any level, you know that we have to act like free agents, act like the CEOs of our career, and make the best possible choices for us first. So hopefully this video gives you a little bit of clarity as you're going through the decision-making process. But if you're somebody that is struggling to get to a job offer and you would love to have a decision to make, that's actually something that I specialize in, because I've got a website called alifeafterlayoff.com. It's loaded with tips and tricks, all from an insider's perspective. The first one is called Resume Rocketfuel, and it's designed to teach you how to write a resume that's going to give you the best chance of having a recruiter notice you in order to get you into that first round interview. Once you get that first round interview, it's up to you to sell yourself throughout the rest of the interviewing process. That's where the Ultimate Job Seeker Bootcamp comes in. It's really a robust training that takes you all the way from job search all the way through job offer and how to negotiate the best possible terms. So if you're looking for a really deep behind the scenes look at the hiring process of major corporations, make sure you check that one out. And if you want to get noticed by more recruiters, because trust me, it's a lot easier to get hired when a recruiter hits you up versus you applying for a bunch of different jobs, then you want to make sure that your LinkedIn game is on point. And I created a course called Unlocking LinkedIn to help you do just that. And of course, if you land a big interview, you want to make sure that you do really well on it. And I created a condensed 48-hour interview crash course that's going to teach you as quickly as possible to get ready for the big interview and perform your best. And I will leave links for all this stuff below. So hopefully this helps. Congratulations on the big offer. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.